welcome to yet another episode of the Two Idiots Podcast. I'm Reg.
I am Randy.
And joining us this week, we have Samyra Stuart-Altman. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, you got it.
Like I said, I'm going to call you Samurai forever now.
Yeah.
Because we just discussed it off air.
It's ingrained in us.
I mean, I recorded it, but I won't release it. But anyway, we're talking. Like I said, you're probably a telemarketer's worst dream, worst nightmare would be what that would be when they call you. Is that normally, like, what do normally people pronounce your name as other than Samurai?
Oh my gosh, everything. Yeah, every option you can think of. So Samyra, Samyra, Sabrina. I don't even know where that part comes from. I think people just get really sort of in their head about it, and then they just go to the one name that they can relate to. Then they just go Samantha, which is just totally not it at all. People used to ask if they could call me Sam to get out of calling me Samyra.
And do you say
and
no?
I said no, because then people will think my name is Samantha, which is a lovely name, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, that's
fair. That's fair.
That's what I get.
Yeah. Randy's lucky. He has a really simple name. Even mine, I mean, Reg is short for Reginald, which is already a strange name.
Yeah.
But it's not hard to say. But I've had it spelt really weird.
See, but nobody actually calls me Randy outside of, like, my boss. It's always Randall or Randolph. Like, if you know me, it's never actually Randy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my wife's name is Darius, and she constantly gets Darius, and she's had a few other combinations of it. But so she knows all about the name battle.
Wow. Yeah, people don't really. They see, like, the first two letters, and they're like, I just fill in the rest.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just autocomplete,
Yeah.
right? And then because my last name is Stuart-Altman, and I'm a veterinarian, so it's Dr. Stuart-Altman.
Mm-hmm.
So now everyone expects they're going to meet a man named Stuart, last
Right.
name Altman, and then I walk into the room, and you guys can't see me if you're listening to this, but these guys can, and I'm very much a woman, very small.
Very small,
Yeah,
I
not
have
the
a client.
Stuart.
This isn't what I signed up for. I'm out of here.
I'm
See you
out.
later.
Yeah, exactly.
I expected a man vet.
Yeah.
Is that? I don't know. I hadn't thought of talking about this, but is that? I assume veterinarianism, whatever you want to call
all
it. All that. It's predominantly male, or is it not?
It used to be, and now it's predominantly female. So my vet class, we had 76 students, and only 16 were guys.
Wow.
And that is pretty typical.
Right.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised because it's much like nursing and healthcare and stuff. It's very often female-led and driven and whatever.
I think
for
it's
whatever reason.
like an empathy thing is
Could
part
be.
of it.
Yeah,
I think
so too. And it used to be very much agricultural. If you were a veterinarian, you were working with, cows and horses and pigs and stuff. And that's still the case, and that's still what we do at my clinic.
Yeah.
But there was just a shift where I think pet healthcare became such a focus of the family, and the pets became part of the family. And then, exactly what you said with empathy and just that nurturing, it just kind of went hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess we should clarify. You are a
I'm
veterinarian. 6 minutes in, folks, you'll figure out.
The title will just be, yes, she's a vet.
I like it.
We could, yeah. Or she's a she. But yeah, so welcome here. I personally, again, it's one of these jobs that I could never do as much as I like animals. I've always been fascinated by, like, I watch, what's that called? The Incredible Dr. Pol.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that guy. Is he still alive?
I think he's
He
still
is,
kicking.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so. He's such
Still
a sweetheart.
pulling cows out of cows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me. Like my wife's vegan, and she hates watching the shows because it's all, basically you're pulling calves out, and then she thinks about farming, and then she thinks about all this other stuff, and I'm like, well, that's not great either. But I'm just fascinated by it. It's gross, so much of it. But I don't know. For whatever reason, it sort of scratches an itch that I didn't know that I needed scratched. And so at your practice, I was reading on your blog. It's mostly like cats and dogs that you deal with, and then occasionally some of the bigger stuff. Am I right?
Yeah, so for me personally, I deal with mostly cats and dogs, but our practice in general is pretty well-rounded. So we usually have 1 or 2 vets on the road at all times on farm doing horses, cows, whatever. But we also have a barn in the back half of our clinic, which is a functional large animal clinic. So we may have horses, goats, pigs back there at any point. So we kind of see it all.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's
what
fun.
drew you to becoming a vet? Just an animal love, or was it like...
Yeah, I mean, you can look back in our family photo albums and just see me surrounded by whatever animal is around at any point. And then I think I just realized that at some point, doctoring animals was a job, and that, I would one day be an adult with a job, so I never wanted to be anything else.
How depressing is that, though, hey?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be an adult and need a job. I better make sure it's with animals. Yeah.
Right. See, because my wife is kind of the opposite spectrum. Like, she's a complete animal lover, but she could never be a vet. She worked in an office for like 2 months, and I was shocked she even got that far. But we're watching Dr. Pol, right? And like, he's got to, euthanize a dog or something. And she's like, no, could not handle it. Is that like an aspect that you struggled with if you're very empathetic with animals, or is it something you can kind of turn on and
even
off?
just doing surgeries in general? Like, how do you get over that hump, right?
Right.
I don't know.
I guess there's sort of two parts to that question. So with regards to the euthanasia side of things, I mean, it's never going to be an easy thing, but I sort of take it on as my honor to be able to ensure that my patient absolutely experiences no suffering and that they can be with their family in that moment if that's what the family wants. So if you focus on the good in that, I think it makes it easier, and it will never be an easy thing, but it's easier, and I can't really imagine not having that option to offer to my patients because we're always advocating for their well-being completely. So that side of things can be rough sometimes, but you can kind of really focus on the family aspect and the human-animal bond in that moment, and that kind of balances it out.
For sure,
And then with surgery, it's just kind of luck of the draw. You either find out that it makes you woozy or not. And I remember watching my first spay and being nervous to see if I was going to get sick or something like that. And I didn't. And I thought, yes, okay, good.
Good to go.
Success. Yeah, again, I can't imagine. Did you ever think about becoming a people doctor, or is it animals all the way?
So we have this saying in veterinary medicine, which is people are gross. So I didn't really. Yeah. It never even really crossed my mind.
People are gross, though.
They are
fair.
gross. Yeah. It's just not.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Animals don't judge you. They're just coming in to get help, man.
Not at all. They're just happy. They wag their tail for the most part. But if it was a zombie apocalypse or something, sure, I'll stitch you up.
I imagine many of the skills are transferable.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's just another species, right? So
for sure.
What's one more?
That's true. What's the schooling like? Is it pretty involved? A long time? How does that work?
Yeah. So basically we do pre-med here
yeah.
first. So I went to U of W and I did 3 years here.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
And then the closest vet school is in Saskatoon. So then I went there for 4 years.
There isn't one in Winnipeg?
No, there isn't. So it's the only one for Western Canada, except for the one that they just put up in Calgary a few years ago.
Wow.
But you have
Considering
to be...
how agriculturally focused these areas are, it's surprising.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. So it's really hard to get in. There are, I may be off by a number or two, but there's 15 seats for Manitobans per year.
Right.
So you're up against, the pool that year, which can be up to 80 or 90 people.
Yeah.
So it is highly competitive. And then Manitoba sponsors those seats at the U of S in a way to, bring students back here eventually.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
But at one point, the government was talking about cutting those seats, and then our Vet Med Association went to bat against that, and so that was just last year. So there's a shortage of vets most of the time.
I would imagine
it's so hard to get in.
I was going to ask how many veterinarian offices are there even in Winnipeg? Are there a lot?
That's actually a good question. I haven't even looked at that number for a while.
But even rough thinking, like, is there, you say we're short, is there, are there even a lot? Are there not very many that you know?
There's a lot of vet clinics for sure, but there's almost not enough vets in them.
Right? That makes sense.
I'd say that they're well distributed throughout the city,
Sure.
but at least right now when we look at our online classified postings, there's maybe 8 or 10 clinics looking for a vet, and those are just the ones that are advertising. So there's probably
So it sort of runs like a general hospital where it's like, say you got 2 doctors and then like 10 nurses.
Yeah,
and then they just kind of like an on-call sort of basis for the vets kind of thing.
Yeah. It sort of depends on the clinic. So most of the city clinics will have their set hours, whatever they make that, and they have their regular doctors and their support staff, like you said, and then there's 2 emergency clinics in the city, so they can take all the 24-hour emergency care, and they have really amazing facilities for that. And then there's clinics like ours, which, because we do large animal as well, we always have a doctor on call, and so that may be getting up in the middle of the night and going to a calving to pull a cow out of a cow. Or it might be something else, or just giving some triage advice over the phone. So when I was doing both large animal and small animal quite a bit, that was kind of the deal for about 4 or 5 years there, getting up in the middle of the night and driving to wherever. Sometimes the biggest struggle is just finding where you're going.
For sure.
In the middle of the night, snowstorm, whatever, and you think, oh, I got there. And now you have a whole thing you have to do once you're there.
And they get home after, and half the places are, if it's rural, good luck finding anything anywhere, especially based off someone's directions.
Oh my gosh.
Hang left at the hay bale, and if you go past the scarecrow, you've gone too far.
Oh, that's just about it. I've the worst directions I've ever heard is when I've been, trying to find a place at 2 in the morning, just trying to keep my eyes open.
Did you feel like, when you would be doing that, if you did have to go do a calving, you're small, how did you do it?
Yeah, I know. It can be tricky. Yeah. So usually there's as many advantages as there are disadvantages to being a certain size.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Okay.
So for me, sometimes my patients are physically larger than me.
Yeah.
And so I might need help lifting something.
Sure.
But on the flip side of that is that these little hands can get into places that some of my colleagues cannot.
Right. That's fair. Yeah.
So there's actually been times when one of my colleagues has called me to deal with something just because I'm smaller and can, quote unquote, get in there. So especially literally
to put it bluntly.
Yeah. So, things like especially a goat giving birth to triplets and they're all stuck in there and you got to try to figure out whose leg belongs to what before you just start pulling. Or maybe I would have called one of my colleagues to come and help me with a really rough foaling or something like that. Right. So, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, no, I have immense respect. Just watching the show, and I don't really know any vets personally, I don't think. But just seeing that and just the everyday stuff, and they come in and I do a quick decision or whatever if they're trying to save a calf or whatever they're trying to do, and you just do it now.
Yeah, got to think on the
basically.
fly. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. No, so kudos to you.
No, thanks.
Yeah, especially for getting in if it's that difficult. I had no idea.
I'm sort of the same. I feel like I follow a ton of medical pages on Instagram and stuff, so I see
some gross stuff.
I see all kinds of, and it fascinates me. I love that stuff because I find it fascinating.
You should leave now, actually.
Yeah.
Being honest with you.
Yeah, there's a room set up across the house. Not a big deal.
It's all Dextered up.
But
this was a trap. I knew it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we start the episode first. So just
gonna get you comfortable, and then we go over there.
So we don't have very many return guests.
But it fascinates me the things we can do, to the human body and to animal bodies to repair them and help them, and all the different, how it's constantly evolving the way we do those things. And it's just so looking at it on my phone, I'm like, cool, I can handle it all. Now seeing somebody's face split in half in person because they're working on their sinuses might not be able to handle so much. But
never know until you see it.
I know which video you're talking about.
I would love to sit. I watched my own knee surgery and that was cool. I was fascinated by that, so I'm like, I think I could handle it.
Yeah.
I'm not nearly delicate or smart enough to.
You just never know, though.
Maybe
your next career, your next
maybe
life.
one day. Yeah.
These sausage fingers would be terrible.
I couldn't be a vet though. I'm way too. I'd look at a dog and I'd be like, I'm gonna bawl. I can't do it. Yeah, not for me.
He's just there just for a checkup. It's not even anything serious. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so cute.
People I wouldn't give a shit about, but the dogs, they would get me for sure.
Yeah. I imagine that is a thing. Speaking of dogs, we had tried to schedule this earlier on. I think it was near COVID or right before COVID, and then you were up north in Churchill or something, so I got pushed, and then COVID fucked it.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Something to do with sled dogs in Churchill or something?
Yeah, so that is the Hudson Bay Quest. It's this really, really cool sled dog race that runs from Gillam to Churchill or vice versa, just depending on the year.
Right.
And it is an Iditarod qualifier, so it's legit.
Yeah.
And it's an intense race.
Yeah.
Not many people do, and it's a really fascinating thing. I only found out about it by accident because one of my best friends lives in Gillam, and I had just graduated from vet school, and she emailed me and said, yeah, they're looking for another vet to join the vet team for this dog sled race. Do you want to come up? And obviously this is just a ploy for her to get me to come to Gillam because I love my friend to death, but I
come visit me. Yeah,
just hadn't gotten to it yet.
Gillam's pretty out of the way.
It is out of. It's literally like the end of the road.
Yeah.
You can't drive any
Since
further
you're out,
north.
you want to just pop by?
Yeah, exactly.
See you in 12 hours.
Exactly.
It's on your way.
So then I thought, well, I kind of like to just say yes to an opportunity at least once. And I thought, well, it'll either be something that I love or absolutely hate. But either way, it's an experience. Exactly. So it's a 220-mile race. It's a It's a self-sufficient wilderness race. So basically, the mushers start at one end with everything that they need. And the next time they really get assistance is at the other end of the race, which is unusual for a dog sled race. Normally there's checkpoints along the way where they have a handler that can drive in and they kind of feed the dogs while they rest, that kind of stuff. This one follows the railroad line.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And there are checkpoints, and there's Canadian Rangers at each one of the stops.
Gotcha.
So they also use it as a military training exercise for them. So they're there in case of any kind of emergency. And then we use a combination of the train and high rail to leapfrog between the points so that we're there in case there's any kind of veterinary issue. So we check the dogs at the beginning of the race, at the midway point called McClintock, which is this really cool trapper's cabin with absolutely no amenities whatsoever. And then at the end again, which is usually in Churchill. And so it's kind of this 48-hour blur. Yeah, that looks familiar.
People
That's
can't
how
see
we
this,
go.
but I pulled it up. That's
it's a pretty
remote too.
It's very remote. So the trapper's cabin that we stay at in the middle of the race has no electricity whatsoever. No plumbing, no running water, whatever. So some of us are there for a while. Some of us are there for a short period of time. But we basically arrive by train in the middle of the night. The train stops there as a favor for the race, basically.
They just kick you off as it goes
pretty
by.
much. You remember bus ridership when you jump out the back of a bus and they'd hold your arms in case of an emergency? That is how I get off the cargo car of this train.
Bus ridership? What's bus ridership?
Did you guys not have bus ridership?
Don't think so.
Never even heard of that.
Are you
What is
kidding?
that? No.
Bus ridership is the best day ever in elementary school, where
Sounds
they teach you how to deal with an emergency on a
Yes,
bus.
I do remember doing this in like
And
grade
they
4.
and they show
off
you
the
where all
back of
the
the bus,
yes,
right?
off the back of the bus,
Okay. I
and they
never heard
hold
it
your
called that.
arms. Well,
It was
it's
just
called
like-
bus ridership.
That's where they explain why buses don't have seat belts and all that stuff.
Someone wasn't paying
Yeah,
attention.
probably not. Just have to jump out the back of the bus.
So imagine that, but jumping out the side of a train in the middle of the night, your headlamp on with all the gear that you need.
Like a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, exactly. And there's all these military guys there, and it feels like a really weird Arctic military thing.
Right.
But then the train disappears, and then it's the most stunning northern lights you can ever even imagine, just dancing over the tracks.
I imagine the views would be awesome.
It's unreal. There's wolves. There's all kinds of things. We're technically in polar bear denning areas, and the polar bears do start to emerge with their cubs a few weeks after that.
Wow.
So if there's any dogs that need any kind of medical treatment while we're there, we do that in the cabin, and then they can hitch a ride with us on the train when we get out of there. So I've been stuck there sometimes because of weather for a really long time. Eating rations and splitting the one apple we had left, melting chocolate to make McClintock fondue. But it's super cool. So I loved it, and I went back every year, except for the odd year because of snowstorms or COVID this year.
That's really cool though. That to think that it's if it's a qualifying race, but then everybody has to live in like just a shack in the middle of the woods. And you would think they'd at least have a generator or something, but it's probably too hard to get fuel up or something.
We did bring a generator for the last 2 years. That we just kind of used here and there.
Sort of as a backup, just emergency style.
It was nice to have some lights at night.
For sure.
It was cool.
It's kind of okay.
But so it's just another thing to bring up there. But we have lots of help, so it wasn't too hard to get the supplies.
So how many stops are there that you would then pop down on the leg?
So the vets do the stop in the middle predominantly, and then we kind of right around there, and then we jump on the train or high rail again to get to the end. Whereas there's at least 2 checkpoints before and about 2 after that the rangers are at.
Right.
And so sometimes we have to zip out somewhere on snowmobile to check something out and come back.
So cool.
So badass.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
And so then, how many racers or teams, I guess, are doing it at once? Or how does that work?
The most we've had on one of my races was 17 teams, and each team has 10 dogs.
Right.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a lot.
No
so
kidding.
being so close to, like you said, denning season and stuff, like have you had to personally deal with like a dog or a person being attacked during the run?
Not on any of my races.
Right.
They used to run this race starting in Churchill and going farther north. Oh. And that route had more weather issues, and it had, I can't remember exactly where they went.
Just looking at the map,
there's not
it's
far
remote,
to go. Yeah, it's very remote. And they had more of a chance of running into things like bears.
Right.
That makes sense.
In our time frame, it's not too bad. You're not supposed to run into a bear, but on one of the years where the race was canceled after the big storm and the rail line was taken out, during the time frame that the race would have happened, there was a bear in town, and so that could have potentially been a problem. So, it's interesting. I mean, the conservation officers are around as well. Everybody is armed, basically. I mean, not me, but everyone around me. My entourage is armed, so I don't need to be.
I've always wanted to. I want to go to Churchill really badly, but it's so expensive.
It is, but if you drive to Gillam,
there you go.
It's a $50 or $75 train ride.
Is it really that cheap?
Yes, it is. Oh. Yeah. So
the internet lied to me, because even then it sounded, I mean, cheaper. But I've been up to almost Gillam. I went to Kiosk, the new hydro station, whatever, right around here somewhere. And so we didn't actually go to the town of Gillam, but just going up there, I love to see the way the topography changes and the forest and the everything. It's
beautiful. It's totally beautiful.
And most people never go up there.
I know.
It's a bummer.
You have to make sure you get to Churchill. I mean, I'm going there when it's a season for nothing. There's no bears, there's no belugas, there's no wildflowers, and I love it. So I can't even imagine going there during an actual season for something.
I think it's nice. November is beluga time or something?
November is bears.
Oh, okay.
Belugas are the summer, but I think if you go August, September, you get a bit of crossover for both. Okay.
I've heard I don't know if it's like an urban legend, but apparently you're not supposed to lock your cars in case of bears out in the street, so you can hop in someone's car.
I think some people do that and some people don't.
Oh. I would leave it unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
You're definitely supposed to take wide corners around buildings so that you're not surprised by a bear as you turn the corner.
Wow, that
can only imagine.
Yeah. To think that electricity is something nice to have, and you might see a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
How good do we have it, eh?
Could get mauled living off apples and military rations, but it's a great place to live.
Yeah, so much fun.
Why aren't there more people there? That's what we wonder. It's probably better that there isn't, quite frankly. They would mess everything up. But
it's true. And the people who are there are amazing.
I believe that.
It's just like going back to a family reunion every single year. It's so nice.
It's very community driven.
Oh, yeah.
So then with the dogs, I imagine most of what you'd be treating is like from the elements. Like, do they get frostbite or dehydration? Yeah,
that's pretty much it. Yeah. Right. So they're kind of the most elite athletes that I deal with. I see way more injuries in, the fat lab who tried to chase a frisbee.
Stuff
like that. Yeah. So it's really more if they happen to get one of their booties off and graze some ice. I mean, it's been pretty cold some years. It's been almost minus 50. So I did see some mild frostbite, some dehydration. So I guess you'll hear a lot about different types of mushers, right? So there's the good mushers and the bad mushers, just like with any other thing.
Of course.
So the good mushers know exactly what their dogs need when they need it. They will stop. They will pull a dog off their team if they think that they need a break or need to quit the race.
Sure.
They can pretty much point to a dog and tell me what they think their heart rate is, resting and recovery, and be correct, which is amazing. So those are the good ones, and those are the ones that we work with. They're fantastic.
Well, I guess you get so in tune with them, right? Because you're training
you would hope
every day.
Exactly. Yeah, you would hope is kind of exactly.
But then puppy mills are a thing, right? So
so then it's the whole flip side of that. So there was a few years ago, wasn't there? Something in Alberta or Banff or some sort of dog sled adventure thing that a bunch of dogs were euthanized for no good reason.
Right.
And, it was a hoarding situation maybe, or there have been hoarding situations. So I think there's a distinction to be made there.
For sure.
I've never seen a team that wasn't perfectly cared for and in the best shape possible.
Well, as they should be. Those dogs are not cheap either. No. So if you're doing this, I mean, you have a huge investment in that they're treated well, you would think, right?
Exactly.
Are the racers all from Manitoba, or is it international?
No, that's the cool thing. It's international. So we have... a
lot of Scandinavians? Or
Well, we have some people who do actually go over to Europe to do a bunch of racing and a lot of racing in Russia as well.
Oh,
okay.
But we have a lot of Americans that come up.
That's cool. Imagine how much it would cost to send 10 dogs to Russia.
I can't even begin
And they're all,
to imagine.
what do they weigh? Like 100 pounds or something?
50.
Okay.
They're
Still.
about 50 pounds, but
Yeah.
still, if you're shipping 10 dogs, that's
Yeah.
a fair amount.
Wow.
So they're from all over the place. I'd say half Canadian, half American.
Right.
As far as Yukon.
Nice.
So all over the place.
That'd be cool.
I just
Yeah.
can't imagine the food bill of trying to feed like 10
Oh,
elite
yeah.
dogs.
It's crazy.
A friend of
Yeah.
mine had, she actually, I don't know if she ever did it competitively, but she had several, what was it, half husky, half Malamute, something like that. And then also she had some half wolf, half, I think it was also Malamute dogs as well. And she had her own, I don't know, team, I guess. But I don't know if she actually did it for fun or if she actually did it to compete. I have no idea. But she's small too. I don't know if she was 5 feet tall.
Right.
And then she would go in there and these two dogs would be, she knew which ones would actually like listen to her as the alpha, but then the really aggressive wolf ones she would kind of keep all by themselves. Some of the other ones would start to kind of lock horns a little bit, and she would go in there, and she's just a short little lady, and she'd go in there and be, hey, get back. And they would listen, like they wouldn't like it, but they would listen as if she had dominance, right? Which is so weird to think that these hulking like wolf dogs are going to listen to her, but
It's the pack mentality.
yeah,
right?
it's neat.
But
I
they
don't know, it's really
do.
cool. My whole experience with sled dogs, the only knowledge I have is from Balto, so it's not very
Yes.
it's not very well developed, but
Well,
movie's
I'd say at
underrated.
one point that was also the case for me.
Yeah.
That's fair. That movie's so underrated. It's a really
Yeah,
shame.
I
Well, it's a
agree.
great movie.
Yeah, I don't know who all watched it, but I've gone to see the statue in Central Park, which is really cool.
Cool.
Nobody else was there, so I'm probably not going to give a shit. Whatever.
Just walking around. It's fucking Balto, man. Come on. Get
Well,
excited.
even Kat wasn't that amped. I don't think she's ever even watched Balto.
Terrible.
Like, what did you do
No.
as a kid? She's like, I don't
Sit
know
her
what that
down.
is.
Make her watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
it's
would love
time.
it. She would love
It
it.
is definitely time.
Overtime, bad past
Yeah.
time. Right?
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I didn't realize that we even had that type of.
Yeah, I didn't either,
thing,
to be
I
honest with
guess.
you.
But I'm glad you're there to do it because again, I couldn't.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
And
can't
so,
wait
for how
to do
long
it
are you
again.
up there then?
I'm usually gone for a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we get up there, get situated, do all the pre-race checks, and
Sure.
then kind of the wrap up after. And then you never really know if you're going to get out of there on time because it's
Yeah.
pretty weather dependent to fly out of Churchill
And very limited
flight
travel and-
availability. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, even the road to Gillam, like I went up there in summer. My dad's a truck driver, so I went up with him, and even that road is not great in the summer. I can't imagine. Like it's wide, but it's bumpy and it's not
Wasn't
real.
it voted Manitoba's worst road?
Likely,
I think
yeah.
it was.
And it's just I don't know. It's so typical of Manitoba to just I don't know, let it go to hell. A little
Just
bit,
not
you know?
care.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
But that'd be really cool. We need to go to Churchill. Let's go to Churchill, Randy.
Sure,
Let's
done.
go
There you
tomorrow.
go. Perfect.
Yeah, take a week off. Let's
Done
go.
deal.
Yeah. What's the temperament of the dogs normally? Are they pretty aggressive?
That's the
or-
other thing. They're the best
Yeah.
dogs. I deal with so many more behavior issues day to day for dogs who do nothing all day.
Imagine if they're told to do things for a job,
Yeah.
right? Like they're gonna listen.
They
Right?
they love doing what they do, and everyone has that vision of the dogs in the harness, jumping and barking and
Yeah.
raring to go, which they are when they're in the harness. They're really
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're so docile.
Yeah.
I can go through a whole team and examine them completely on my own because they're just going to stand there and
Yeah,
lift their
that's
paws
great.
and do whatever I ask them
Yeah.
to do. So
Well, and
it's
that's
a
like
non-issue.
the racing is their fun, right? That's
Yeah.
why they get amped
Yeah,
up. That's
exactly.
they want to work.
Yeah, they have the best time.
Just those pro athletes, right? That
I know,
mentality.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
I sure don't have it.
No,
I don't either.
nor do I. People are gross. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that'll have to be the title of the episode. But what was I going to say now?
Do you also go down to Mexico too? I believe me and Reg were kind of discussing before.
Yeah. So as much as I go up north,
Right.
I also go south when I
Jeez.
can. So for the past 3 years, we've been going to this cool little island called Isla Mujeres,
Okay.
and they have a rescue operation, but they teamed up with vets there to start doing a spay and neuter campaign every year.
Right.
And then it got bigger and bigger, and so now it's something like 13 or 15 vets that come from all over the
Wow.
place, and
Nice.
then 3 times or 4 times as many volunteers.
Right.
And we spay and neuter as many dogs and cats as we can in
Right.
about 5 days, 6
And so,
days.
of course, just I guess to clarify, that's mostly just because that if there's a lot of strays and whatever else, and you don't want to have the population go crazy and
exactly.
whatnot, right? Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
say, what's your ratio to like family pets to strays, or is it like all strays?
Well, I think the last few years has been way more family pets because there aren't as many strays in certain areas.
Right.
And because more people are realizing that it's really important and it's healthier for their animals to be spayed or neutered.
Right.
And then word gets out that it's being offered as a free service.
Yeah.
I should also mention. So through tons of donations, we're able to do this for free. And so then we kind of set it up in sort of this tropical MASH style.
Yeah.
Not quite in a tent, but definitely in some sort of open space.
Oh, wow.
Clinic kind of thing. And it's very different. I usually describe it as sort of tropical surgery boot camp.
Right. Interesting.
You learn a lot every single time. There's always at least 3 moments where I go, why do I do this to myself? This is so stressful, or I'm so hot, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But there's vets from all over the world. Like there's vets from Brazil and Mexico and the US, Canada.
So it's quite a learning experience too.
Yeah, exactly.
Even just being able to talk to your peers. And
and sometimes we can't even talk to each other because we don't speak the same
Right.
language.
Oh,
so we mime about what we're doing, and you
Yeah.
can still learn so much. So that's really cool. And we're doing all injectable anesthesia instead of gas. So here I'll just say in North America in general, the gold standard and what we legally have to use is gas anesthesia. So you have a breathing tube. It's very fine-tuned anesthesia. It's the best that you can do.
Yeah.
Before there was ever gas anesthesia, there was injectable. So that's where you use a combination of sort of a cocktail of drugs so that you're completely unconscious. You don't feel anything.
Sure.
But you can't, turn a dial a quarter turn and have a perfect amount of anesthesia delivered.
That's kind of what you always hear on the veterinary shows, where it's like, we have to give them just the right amount, because if we mess up, like they're dead.
Exactly.
Right?
Especially with such fluctuating species and sizes and whatever else, I imagine. Yeah.
And if you're going from like a gorilla to a giraffe to a dog, right? Like to remember all those combinations.
It's just different.
Yeah.
So basically we have this whole sort of setup where there's rows and rows of surgical tables, and
in the open air, pretty much.
Open air, yeah.
Wow.
And there's music playing and there's people around, and it's very unusual.
Festive.
It's a party.
It is festive. That's actually a good way of putting it. Super festive, super hot.
Carnival.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's just like that. And then me just sweating, struggling with something.
Yeah. Little less dancing.
Dancing after, but so because they're well, there's that after, definitely on the ride home.
That's
for
how you
sure.
sanitize, right?
Yeah, well,
that's what they're injecting them with.
Close,
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes you need more anesthesia because every individual is different.
Sure.
So as a way to call out for when you need another dose, because you don't want your patient to wake up, obviously. And usually you can tell because there'll be a tiny little muscle twitch, or you can just sense that their breathing rate is starting to increase. They can't feel anything yet, but it's their body telling you that you should watch out. So basically you just have to, the code word is bump. So we go bump, and then someone comes over with a bump, which is a top-up dose of whatever it is we're using.
We have to clarify.
Yeah, it's not that kind of bump.
Sounds really like a party. I think we do.
It does, yeah. And then your patient just continues to, do fine, and you finish up your surgery. So
That's
it's interesting.
It sounds awesome. Like, is that something that's offered here, like in Winnipeg?
Not really.
You have to pay for it, right?
So you usually have to pay for it, but I mean, there are subsidized programs. So I also work with a couple of rescues and inner city programs. So there's a cat inner city spay neuter program that I work with. So on Sundays, sometimes we do subsidized spay neuters for low income families in the inner city.
Is there a huge stray problem in Winnipeg?
Yeah. There's mostly cats.
Oh, yeah.
Some dogs, not as many. But I mean, this is going to sound like I'm just everywhere, but sometimes I am kind of everywhere. So at Winnipeg's Animal Services, which I also do 1 day a week, they deal with all the stray dogs for the most part, in combination with the Humane Society as well, which I also work with.
I was going to say, you're the member of the board of directors.
Yeah, I know. See, this is what happens. You volunteer for one thing, and then you kind of start doing another thing. But then I'm that's one of my things that I like to talk about is veterinary volunteerism.
Yeah.
As far as speaking to the profession, because there's so much that you can do, but there's a lot of feelings that either the vets themselves feel like they either don't have the time, or maybe they don't think that what they can contribute is valuable.
Right.
It's all about sort of reducing those barriers to veterinary volunteerism. So I like to talk about that a lot with vets and vet techs, which are nurses, and everybody. So on that subject, actually, I'm just going to steal the show for a second.
Please do.
One of the things that I am about to launch at our clinic is an employer-supported volunteer program.
Okay.
Which is essentially every staff member gets an extra day off in lieu of time spent volunteering.
Cool. That's awesome.
And so it's a benefit to them, and it doesn't have to be a veterinary volunteer thing,
volunteer
but
somewhere. Yeah.
cool if it is.
Yeah.
And so I make a calendar of all the events that I know of. So if they're looking for something, they can do that.
Sure.
I want to basically do that at our clinic, and then try to get other clinics in Manitoba to do the same thing, and then eventually go to the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association and do it as a Canadian kind of call to
That's
volunteer.
amazing.
So
every company should do that.
yes,
For sure.
well, yes, I think so too. So
Yeah.
that's my latest.
That's amazing.
One of my pet projects.
That's awesome. That sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, we could all volunteer a little more. Quite frankly, I could volunteer a lot more than I do, which
I
is
have a list
more
I
than
can
zero.
do.
Yeah,
There we go.
but yeah, that's especially if people don't have to worry about getting in trouble or not having the time or whatever. Then yeah, they can. And you said so they get paid for the day.
So they'll get a day off to do that. Yeah. So it's just like they were at work all day.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
Right.
That's because I mean.
And a good incentive, right? What better? Hey, you're gonna get a day off. What better incentive to get out there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because a lot of things do end up happening either on a Saturday or on a weekday afternoon.
Sure.
Especially community vet outreach is a really cool One Health vet and human health partnership where we team up with either the dental hygienists or another human health side of things, and then we put on a whole clinic that usually happens in either during the day or early evening.
Sure.
And so people come with their pets and they get their pets' medical stuff dealt with, and then they can continue on through the circuit and get human health stuff, and it's just a really cool of initiative. But that one in particular usually needs some time taken away from your workday,
Right.
and that organization needs a lot of volunteers. So that's one of the ones I had in mind for stuff
I'm
like
picturing,
that.
is there some sort of like turf war between people doctors and animal doctors?
I don't know. I think we're all just curious about each other.
Pretty much, eh?
Yeah, a lot of my human doctor clients just want to.
I love how there has to be a distinction.
No.
This is just doctors. They're like, oh, my people doctor, my human doctor.
I know. We have to specify. My human doctor clients really want to know more about what I'm doing, and likewise. So it's just like when I go to my doctor, we'll usually talk about her dog, and then we talk about whatever I'm there for, and back and forth. So I don't know. I think there should be more. I don't know, some sort of monthly coffee shop thing where the two professions can get together. Well, and that's kind of the whole thing. But behind One Health is that it's all just intertwined, whether it's animal and food safety, whether it's zoonotic diseases. So, there was concerns about COVID and cats and dogs, and is it going to affect them? Is it not? Who can catch what from?
Where did it come down to? Are they in the clear?
They seem to be mostly in the clear. We think that they can be pretty much asymptomatic carriers. We think that there was some cats that were affected, especially the wild cats in the New York Zoo. But we haven't seen it go from an animal back up around to human again far as the cat population.
The big concern, I think, with the dogs was like, if you rub your face on them and stuff, they'll get trapped in their fur and then they'll carry it on, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we were worried about the dogs being a fomite, so something that carries a particle. Yeah, and then I thought that'd be a really probably tasteless name for a dog in the future, but fomite.
Nobody would get it.
I know. And the people that do would just love it so much.
Yeah. Well, then they hear foamy and think they have rabies or something. And it just becomes a whole thing. I don't know. The jury's out on that name. So maybe, I don't know,
we'll see.
But yeah, no, definitely, like Kat, my wife, was a little bit concerned about when they was first starting off, like, could cats get it? And, her cats are her life. So she's like, well, I don't want them to get it. She didn't care at all if I got it, but she just didn't want the cats to get it. And
those are her children, man.
Exactly. Yeah, to hell with me. Totally makes sense. But so far, I don't know. They're no more or less lethargic than they already were. So that's
perfect.
Good to go.
Sounds normal to me.
yeah. So on a regular day as a vet, walk us through it. What's an average day for you?
So I do 12-hour shifts.
Okay.
So it goes usually 8 to 8, or if I'm on surgery, a little bit earlier than that.
Okay.
So on a normal, I'll say medicine day. So that's when I'm seeing appointments.
Sure.
And I'll say normal in the, the frame of right now.
Yeah.
Because it's a little different.
Right.
I'm usually seeing 20 to sometimes 26 patients in a day.
Okay.
And that can be anything from just a really easy first puppy visit where it's, all happy sunshine, flowers, all that kind of stuff, all the way to a really intense emergency, or, maybe we're doing full blood work and x-rays on a dog who's suddenly not doing well and having seizures, or even euthanasia. So it's highly variable. Our appointments are about half an hour. And depending on what we're doing, that might overlap, because as you can imagine, if we're having to do x-rays, blood work, all that kind of stuff, that's going to take longer. So it's a lot of kind of juggling.
Just highs and lows. Wow. Like to think you go from one room where you're, looking at this new little Labrador puppy or something. It's all full of joy and whatever. And then the next room having to assess, a dying animal.
It's kind of like the doorway effect, where you just kind of go through and you just let yourself be sort of cleansed of that for a second. And I just kind of shelf it for a minute and go on to the next thing, because whoever I'm seeing next doesn't know and shouldn't know what's going on in my day before that, whether it's good or bad. So in that moment, they have my full attention, but there's just that portion of my brain that's still having to run through the timing of everything else that's already going on. So it can be all over the place. And then on surgery days, I'll have maybe 8 procedures, and that can be spays, neuters, tumor removals, a leg amputation, dentistry is a big one. So we do lots and lots of dentistry. And those can be long procedures too, because you're taking out a lot of teeth. And
for sure.
It's messy, it's stinky, it's surgical, it's everything.
Yeah, my dog's breath is hot garbage on a good day. So
see, there you go. So hours of that in my face.
Fun. No thank you.
No tequila. Definitely a tequila after.
Exactly. So it can be everywhere.
Wow.
And then lots and lots of messages and
I guess that's
correspondence.
Both good and bad. Just that it keeps you busy, or keeps you engaged, but then also a bit stressful, I imagine.
Yeah, it can be stressful, but I can't imagine not having that variability. I've been told I don't know how to not be busy.
Right. It sounds like it. I don't know. Well, maybe. Based on what we talked about so far, it sounds like you're pretty calm and don't go anywhere. But
I'm pretty much always at home.
Yeah, pretty sedentary. Yeah. I imagine there also are in the compartmentalizing of your day to day. I assume you can transfer that to like your home life and just kind of dealing with other things, just being a person.
Right. Like once work is done, that's done, right? It's out of your head.
I'm pretty good at that. I think my subconscious brain isn't good at that, because it'll be 10 at night and I think of an idea for some case that I'm not really consciously thinking about.
Right.
I go, and then I email myself at the clinic, and then I can kind of let it go again.
Little eureka moments through the night.
Exactly. So that happens, but I do feel like I can usually just
leave it there
for the most part and go off and do whatever it is I want to do in the
go fly to another country and do more stuff like that. Whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Guilty.
So in the 1 hour of a 23-hour day that you're not being a kick-ass vet, what is your decompression? Like, what do you prefer to go do?
I love to go see live music. That is kind of my favorite
COVID really kicked
thing.
that in the nuts a little bit.
Yeah, so that's tricky. Luckily, my husband's the same way. So he has a band. He's totally into music. So
what's his band? Shout him out.
Yeah, well, his band is called Honey D.
Honey D.
Yeah,
sounds dirty.
Yeah, I know. They kind of wanted it to, but they also wanted it to be like, it's kind of Honey Dill, right? But Honey D, so it's just sort of that ambiguous. Wait, what?
So my brain went to Sunny D right away.
Another good
There's
throwback.
some advertising stuff in there. Yeah, that's good.
So they practice sometimes in the basement. So that's I get my own
There you go. There's
show
your
down
experience,
there. Yeah, exactly.
Put a little table in the corner, have a nice cool drink.
Yeah,
sitting
pretty
there.
much.
Turn the lights down a little bit.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So to
Stranger
do
in
that.
the other corner smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. Can we come?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll check it out.
And
Honeybee.
yeah, what else? I draw, so that's my other thing.
Right.
That we need to
Art.
touch on as well.
Yeah.
That's sort of how we connected because,
Yes.
well, we met, tangentially at the, what's it called? Veg Fest?
Veg Fest. Yep,
yeah.
you bet.
So then we saw your work, and then, my wife really enjoyed it, of course. So then I commissioned you to draw 2 pictures of our cats. Was that on Christmas? Anniversary? I don't remember what it was for. Whatever. She enjoyed it for whatever the occasion was. So yeah, definitely go into that. So is that something you're still doing? Is that kind of a side hustle?
I do a lot of that. So that started purely as a way to decompress. So I used to do a lot of watercolors before I got into vet school. And then everything just stopped when I was in vet school because it was kind of an all-consuming activity.
That makes sense.
So then it was maybe 4 years ago, I thought, I really need to get back into that. I really enjoyed it. I miss it a lot. That was a really big part of my life.
Yeah.
So I was still on call at that point, so I couldn't do watercolors. Also, I have cats, so they're just going to step on everything. Oh, yeah, that's one I just did the other day.
Yeah. Painting must be difficult with cats. Jeez.
Oh, yeah, I just can't. So that really, it was just practical reasons that I chose permanent pen, ink drawings. It was just so that if I got called on an emergency, it wasn't ruined. And if my cats walked on it, also not ruined.
Yeah, you can pick up and go kind of as you need to.
Exactly.
Look at that fluffy girl. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a little Airedale.
You should get one for Finn.
I think I'm going to have to now.
Yeah, for sure. So then I just started drawing some animals, and someone asked me if I could do one of their dog, and I thought, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never done that before, so I did. And then I thought, well, that turned out okay. So then I did two as gifts for coworkers, and then it just exploded into a thing. Yeah. So then before I knew it, I had an Etsy shop, and then I had
word of mouth is a powerful thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it just kind of kept going. So I usually have about 10 on the go at any one time. And
have you had anyone tattoo one of your drawings yet?
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was the coolest thing.
Yeah,
you have a picture
sure.
of it? I kind of want to see it.
I do. Yeah, I did it specifically for her tattoo, so it's a little bit different than
so stylized
that style. It's a little bit more simple, but it's still sort of a line drawing of a horse, and she got it done on her arm.
That's so cool.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
that was pretty.
Now
neat.
that idea's out there, my wife's definitely going to do that.
Yeah.
I hope so. It's the ultimate compliment. I would like that on me forever, please.
We're going to do the Joe Rogan thing where people start tattooing our faces on them.
There you go.
Weirdos.
Those poor people.
Yeah. But if anybody wants to, I'll send you a picture.
Yeah.
You get a free shirt.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, call that.
Sounds
call it that. That's wild. So you're pretty busy with it right now? Everything's going nuts?
Yeah. I've had more time for drawing these days because, the usual. I'm at home a bit more. And I get a lot of orders locally, but then I've had some international ones as well, cool. Which is always neat.
Nice.
So I sent one to Hong Kong last year. There's somewhere in Portugal,
awesome.
Australia. Yeah. It's neat. And it's easy. It's no problem to ship, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Piece of
just
paper.
A piece of paper, yeah. So
how long does it normally take you to do a drawing?
On average, 30 minutes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
quick turnaround.
Yeah. It's
for the
it's
detail you
quick.
get in about 30 minutes, jeez.
Yeah, it's my husband Corey always laughs because I'll start going and then you can hear me going because my hand's moving pretty quick with that style, and he kind of goes, "Oh, she's processing something over there again."
It just sounds like those old printers.
Exactly. Yeah. That is what it sounds like, though. It
awesome.
Totally does.
It's a little factory. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I have to be in the mood to do it, though. I just cannot force a portrait. So I usually tell people it'll take 2 to 3 months, and that's not because it takes that long. It's because I just have to feel
well,
like
it's like anything. If
you
someone tells you have to read
Yeah.
something, or you have to write something, you have to do something, you're like,
it'll be the last thing you do.
Exactly.
And you put it off. Exactly. And I never want it to be a chore. I just want it to be something that I enjoy, and the bonus is that I get paid for it. And then usually this is where I mention how I love traveling, and it goes to my travel fund. So right now it kind of goes to our entertainment fund,
that's
whatever
awesome.
that might be. Skip the dishes.
That's good.
Pretty much. So that's
nothing
fine.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
What's your Etsy shop name, or how do people find it?
Ink Naturally.
Ink Naturally.
Yeah.
Nice. Does sound like a tattoo shop for sure.
Doesn't it? I know. Yeah.
Maybe that'll be your next thing.
I
If
know.
you're not too busy now, if you have some free time, you may as well start
I
tattooing.
mean,
Yeah, there you
I've
go, right?
tattooed dog and cat ears
I
as
guess.
a form
Is it
of
the same?
identification. It's the same tattoo gun and everything. So
Yeah, just to elaborate from that.
You're one step away.
yeah,
You're good to
I
go.
know. Just a little processing away from.
It's like the same thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure a tattoo
It's
artist
not a
would
huge
love
jump.
that. Yeah. Now, a little identification number, exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
I think I'll just prefer to collaborate with tattoo artists.
Yeah,
Smart.
there you go.
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah.
I'm good with that.
That's awesome. So then you also started a blog recently, is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I did. One weekend.
Just for kicks, just for fun, because you're not busy enough. You may as well just
Yeah.
add
Well,
another
yeah,
thing.
I had an
gotta-
extra 25 minutes of my day, and I thought, why not?
It was
You make me
almost
feel so
one of those
lazy. I'll
things.
tell you that. I know. Like, Jesus
It
Christ.
occurred to me that I was doing a lot of writing in different places, and I kind of just wanted to put it all together. I wanted it to be a resource where people could find out about volunteering, find out about what I'm doing if they're interested, or just general veterinary stuff.
Yeah.
Or pet owners, clients, other vets, whoever wants to read it, cool.
Sure,
If you don't,
right.
that's fine too. But I
Yep.
enjoy doing it, so that's good. So I think that was last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I had the idea, and then I thought, well, is that going to be hard? I don't know. Let's try a free trial of Squarespace.
I was just
There
going
you
to
go.
ask because I was
Yeah.
working on a website for us actually Friday, Thursday, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at your template, or not your template, at your website, and I was like, that looks very similar to one of the templates I was playing with. Was it
You bet.
Squarespace?
It's
Yeah.
a nice one.
Yeah,
Fillmore or
worked out.
something.
yeah. I think that was the one I was playing around
Yeah.
with too. Yeah.
So then I thought, okay, well, I'll just see if I like how it looks, and we'll see.
Yeah.
And then it just, a few hours later, I had a website, and then I thought,
Right.
I guess I have to launch this now. I don't want to just lose it. My
Yeah.
trial will be up. So
Yeah,
I
may
was
as
already
well.
connected with it. So, I sent it to a couple people and kind of said, do you think this is something anyone will even care about? And
Yeah.
I mean, they're all friends of mine, so they were very nice. And they said, yeah, you should do it. But for all the questions that I get about what I do and what I'm doing next and how can I do this and how can I do that, I think it's just a cool little spot that people can
Right.
go to.
Little
and,
landing page or whatever. Or
yeah,
something
exactly.
to launch off from. Yeah.
And I kind of like that my clients can find out maybe even more about me as a person. That's
Yeah.
kind of a whole thing
Right.
that I think of all the time. Is a lot of people will say, and this everyone says it, well, we have to go to the vet, right?
Oh,
It's like, well, you have to go to the hospital or the clinic because I really want the vet to be the person and to be
Right.
your animal's family doctor, right?
Well, that's what it is, right? Like I've seen my family doctor for 30 years, right? Why
Yeah.
can't my dog have the same doctor his
Yeah.
whole life? Right?
Exactly. And that's what we really try to do at our clinic is
Mm-hmm.
to just have that family practice feel, but you can still get all of the
Yeah.
expertise
Mm-hmm.
of, we're not specialists, but
Yeah.
we're all really passionate general
Yeah.
practitioners.
And the familiarity builds trust too, right?
Totally.
Especially
yeah.
with the animals too, I imagine. Like
Yeah.
if you have
Oh, yeah.
bring a dog in a different doctor every year or whatever, it's stressful to them on top
Yeah.
of whatever's happening.
I
Yeah.
love it when my patients know who I am and recognize me and will pull their owners across the building
Yeah.
to come see me.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Even though I'm about to poke them with multiple needles and probably put a glove on, stick my finger up places that they wouldn't let anyone else do. They're so
Yeah.
happy to
Yeah,
be there.
yeah.
Maybe it's just because they like the treats we stock. I don't care.
Yeah.
But they love being there, so that's
Yeah.
what I
You can take it
care
however
about.
you want, right?
Yeah,
Whether they're actually
exactly.
thinking, we'll never know. But yeah.
Exactly. And, I know I said earlier people are gross because they are.
Yes,
But
they are.
I love the connection with my clients. So I
Yeah.
love meeting people and I love making friends and I so enjoy that. And I think anyone
And
who
you have
gets
to do it
it,
with their owners too, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's a person on the end of that leash.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
for anyone who gets into veterinary medicine because they don't want to deal with people,
Yeah.
you are going to deal with more people than in
Yeah.
many other jobs
Oh,
you could have
yeah.
gotten. So
Do you
I
find
enjoy
that.
that.
The dog's personality often lines up with the humans a lot?
Yeah, it definitely can. And one really interesting thing is, and maybe it's just coincidence, but it's often the case that animals and people end up with some of the same health issues.
Right.
So
Really? Oh.
the amount of times I've diagnosed a cat or dog with diabetes and the owner says, well, don't worry, I have diabetes. I know how to give these injections or whatever, hypothyroidism and stuff. And I mean, those are pretty common things anyways, but it makes that discussion about that particular issue a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certain personalities that are just matches made in heaven when it comes to certain, dogs and their owners or cats and their owners.
It's totally true. And we've said it a million times, but like basically our one cat is my wife, like to a T, and then the other one is me, and it's disturbing how similar it is. Like one is more kind of dainty and a little bit more high strung and whatever. And then the other one is just a lazy slob, and like that's perfect. It just works too well. I don't know how that happens or why it happens, but it seems to just work somehow.
They have such incredible personalities. Our cats are so different from each other. It's incredible.
And like we're annoyingly expressive, if ours is any indication. So animals are interesting.
I guess you could almost make like a nature versus nurture argument out of it, right? Like depending what environment they're in, how their personalities differ. And
maybe. I think it's a bit of both, really. I mean, I have no idea where my cats came from. I just picked them up at that point in their life.
For sure.
But one of them I got in school when I was still on a medicine rotation. She'd been found on the side of the road, hit by a car, had a million things wrong with her. We had to amputate a leg, wire her jaw, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Every reason to be either scared or mean or not sociable or whatever. But she just has the most grateful attitude, happy to be here kind of cat. She's just the sweetest little thing. And then the other one we have is just this either end of the spectrum. You don't know what you're going to get. He goes in, he goes into these, it seems like a dissociative state. He lacks empathy completely. And if he goes outside for a second, he becomes feral. Literally, he scared away our mailman and got our mail service cut off for a week.
Oh, wow.
No
because
way.
he got outside for all of 20 minutes. I didn't know it. And then he terrorized our poor mailman.
Oh.
And I was coming home and he said, "There's a wild animal under your stairs." And I said, "What?" He goes, "There's a wild animal under your stairs. Might be a cat. Do you have cats?" And then I thought, oh my God, it's Tucker. And then I said, "Well, I do, but they're indoor cats." Couldn't possibly be mine. And then our mail disappeared for a week. And then I went, "Corey, did you get any mail this week?" "No." "Did you?" "No." "I wonder if our mail service got cut off. How would we know? Would they, send us a notice?"
Send you a letter?
How? So we had to call Canada Post and get that sorted.
Oh, geez.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's for a cat.
Yeah. And he's pretty famous, that guy.
Apparently. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What would you say? What's the weirdest animal you've dealt with at the vet or as a vet?
I would say, we see a lot of stuff, but I guess I've dealt with, this was still in school, a baby bear.
Oh, neat.
Which was really cute because it was so perfect. He came in for an issue through the wildlife rehab program in Saskatoon, and he was going to be okay. And so he was in this special little quarantine area, and then overnight he got out and then got into the jar of honey.
Oh, no way.
That they had been using to give him medication, so he's just covered in honey.
Wow.
And is this just Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah,
Actually, this is real life.
That'd be crazy.
That's awesome.
So I think that was the coolest one because I actually got to touch him, right?
That most people can't, or the people that are trying to take selfies with him and then they get mauled.
Yeah, exactly.
You deserve to at that point. But have you ever been attacked by any of your, I guess, clients or charges? Your patients?
Yes.
Yeah. People or otherwise?
Yeah, all of the above. No.
Yeah.
Usually cats are, any scar that I have is for the most part from a cat. And I say that, but people listening can't see, but I'm wearing cat socks. I love cats.
Right.
They're kind of one of my favorites. But you really have to earn it with them, and they can just contort their body in every possible way. So I have been bitten by cats. I was kicked in the face by a horse, and that's this scar here. So that was that was a lucky one.
Yeah.
And really nice horse dealing with a chronic wound, and he just happened to.
She rationalizes it. Super nice guy. Kicked me in the face, but he was a real sweetie.
So sweet. Yeah, gave me one heck of a black eye.
Oh, I believe
that.
It was
I bet.
huge. It was, it
was it
bleeding.
a glancing blow or did?
Yeah, he kind of, it was, this angled thing. And that's why it cut me so badly.
Yeah.
But I was with a colleague of mine, and he was on the other side, so he couldn't really see. Right. But this happened, and I kind of fell back and grabbed my face, and didn't knock me out or anything.
Yeah.
Probably was close.
Yeah.
And so keep in mind, he couldn't see, but all he heard me say was, "I'm awake. I can see." He's like, "What do you mean you're awake? You can see? What just happened?" Then he comes around the side, and there's just blood everywhere.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, the horse had to go in a stall.
Yeah.
We went off to the hospital and
Well, you think, right? A couple more inches to the right, and it would have been a much different story, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's pretty.
Well, that's 2 weeks in a row. Last week we had a guy who took a puck in the eye. Now we have someone who took a horse in the eye.
Just, on a roll of eye injuries
Jeez,
here.
yeah. How many more are we going to have?
It was intense. And I've had 2 black eyes in my life. Both were from horses. So one was from a headbutt on this side, and then one was from
What hurt worse?
foot.
The kick?
The kick hurt more. Yeah. Just there was more blood involved.
Yeah.
And stitches and
They
stuff.
got a lot of power in those legs.
Yeah, they definitely do. But I think when people would see me walking around with this black eye, they just couldn't imagine how I would have this black eye.
Right.
And I felt so bad for my husband Corey.
They're just side-eyeing him the whole time, like, you son of a bitch.
It was obvious. And then some guy in Saskatoon, because one was at school the week before we were moving home, or 2 days or something.
Yeah.
He made a comment.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, "No, it was a horse, I swear." I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I fell down the stairs. I swear to God.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So, those are my battle wounds.
To think that people actually would go out of their way to confront, I guess, him for that, right? You don't know what happened. You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, in some ways I think, well, that's cool.
Yeah, maybe it's okay.
Someone was that
I guess
concerned
so,
about
sticking up for it.
me, I guess. I mean, they
It's
didn't
not a
really
bad
do
thing
more than
necessarily,
that.
but it's a weird thing to assume.
But it is a weird thing
Yeah.
to assume because
Just roll along with him one day. Just be like, yeah, he's a real asshole. Sometimes. When he drinks, he gets crazy.
I talk back to him. I'll never do it again. Yeah.
oh man, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Corey's gonna hate this episode.
he's gonna love it.
If you
Honey
had
D,
to pick anywhere you haven't traveled yet abroad, like if you wanted to go to like Africa to go study some animals for say 6 months, or like for me, if I was in your shoes, I'd want to go to like the Steve Irwin Zoo in Australia.
Yeah.
Go check that out. Right?
Go look at some platypuses.
Yeah, there you go.
Platypus
You have like
Yeah.
a specific place you'd want to go, say for 6 months at a time to go study
Yeah.
and.
That's a great question because my mind goes through this whole Rolodex of
Right.
places I want to go. I think
Ooh, go to Madagascar for lemurs. That's what you should do.
a friend of mine has done that.
Oh, that's
actually.
cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and
Zubumafu.
has done some really cool stuff out
That's
that
awesome.
way.
King Louis.
So it's hard to decide. There's
Right.
a lot of places. I am really, really interested in gorillas.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
good all
it's
stuff.
Such a, they're
Oh, she was
so
chips.
cool.
Sorry.
And they're so smart and so interesting. So I would probably choose Africa mostly for that reason.
Right.
As cool as everything else is, the cheetahs and the elephants. I mean, elephants as well, actually. So elephants and gorillas.
Right.
Those are
And
the
then
two.
rhinos. And
And
probably
then-
hippos.
So yeah, definitely Africa. Now that I say it all out loud. But there's some really neat sanctuaries that you can go and spend time in. A friend of mine's in vet school right now in Australia, and he was able to do a lot of externships and volunteer opportunities in both Africa and Thailand.
Right.
And the stuff he got to do is just like a lifetime's worth of stuff for any vet who has dreams of traveling and doing things. So
Yeah.
I'd like to do stuff like that one day when I'm allowed to again.
Yeah.
But I mean, at this rate, with all the portraits that I'm doing and not going anywhere, I should be able to afford
Well, there you go. Yeah.
the airfare
There
to
you
go
go.
wherever I want to go.
Are there any animals that you loathe that you like? If they come into the office, you're like, "Damn it, I don't want to work on that." Are you allowed to say that? Are you gonna get fired if I ask you that?
No, I won't get fired. It's more of an animal that I know I would never want to work with.
Oh, okay.
Because let me preface this by saying I've come around to birds.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I used to not really be into birds.
Yeah.
They're super flappy. They're very,
Noisy and yeah.
Skittish.
Yeah,
and-
exactly. But in the past few years, I've become far more enamored with birds than I ever thought I
Right.
would be.
Personally, I think people that own birds are kind of weird. So that's just me. But
Dude,
I get it.
we were driving for lunch in the city at work yesterday, and there was a guy with a parrot on his back, like riding his biking with his parrot
Where
around
in the city were you?
I think I might have
We
seen
were
this
on
guy
Henderson
too.
Highway.
Okay.
I think it was a parrot. It was a green bird.
Just a
I assume
crow.
they're all parrots, but
Yeah.
it was some type of bird like that. And he was biking down Henderson, then turned left in a little side road, and he's got it tied to a string on its back, and it's just hopping around on his
Was
back.
it an older guy?
I think I would say probably 50s-ish.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Maybe.
I don't know him actually.
Right.
I've just seen him around
Oh,
with
okay.
that
It's
bird.
Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, busted. And those birds are super cool, and
For
I've
sure.
gotten more used to dealing with birds.
fair.
But I am so glad that the ostrich craze that used to be
Right.
in
Yeah,
Manitoba
yeah.
is no longer.
Right.
Because take the one animal that I'm not super confident around because they're already super flappy,
Yeah.
and now make them taller than
Yeah.
me
And aggressive,
with
aren't
talons that
ostriches?
can
Yeah.
just slice you apart. Nuh-uh. I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with ostriches maybe ever.
There was a weird. I
modern
forgot
day
about that.
velociraptors. Yeah, there was a bunch
Yeah.
of emu farms and stuff.
Well,
kicking
emus
around.
and
tons.
ostriches. There was right near us. My mom's old boss. They had a corral full of. I think it was ostriches. Maybe it was emus. I don't know.
Well, they were both pretty.
Yeah. Why was there
Prominent.
such a?
People were eating them.
Oh,
They ate ostrich meat
that's
because
fair.
it was
And the
kind of
eggs
like
too,
beef.
probably.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Back to
odd.
Corey again. His uncle had ostriches.
What a terrible guy.
I know.
This Corey. I don't know about him.
Yeah.
Something about him. I don't know.
What a guy.
We need to have words.
Black
but-
eyes and ostrich meat. God damn, man. I don't know.
Oh boy. Not to slander him, but damn it. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask. So we met at VegFest.
Yep.
Are you vegan?
I'm not.
Oh, interesting.
I know.
Interesting.
I just kind of fly under the radar. But I don't.
And they let you in.
They let
Need to
me in.
tighten
I know.
security.
There's
That's-
no scanner for that. They
Just
let me
sneaking
in
jerky
anyway.
every now and then.
Yeah. But I will say this. A few years ago, really started to think more about what I was eating.
Sure. Right.
And I pretty much, I only cook vegetarian.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I will eat some meat, but it's a very small amount of what I eat. And a lot of those times I'm sort of confident about where it's
yeah.
come from.
Right.
And that's been sort of an interesting change for me because it used to be that when people would find out I'm a vet, they would automatically say, "So you're vegetarian?"
Right.
And I would say, "No."
But you could never assume that they all would be. Like I never thought that.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
but
like-
a lot of people do. And I think there were 2 vegetarians in my entire class
Yeah.
in vet school, but I have definitely changed my practices a lot, and it's just
Sure.
been sort of a natural thing that's happened.
Well,
so
you'll see it more than anybody. Probably just the effects that industrial farming and factory farming and that type of stuff can have on an animal. So that
yeah, exactly.
I can understand why people would be more vegan or vegetarian
Yep.
if they were vets.
And
sure.
I'm so not a person that goes, "Oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't believe you still eat meat."
Yeah.
It's just, this is just what I'm comfortable with
Yeah.
doing. And maybe in a few years, I'll be eating even less of it. I don't,
Sure.
I don't even
Right.
know.
And if you can source it, that's how I feel too. Like I'm not very good at it, but I feel the same way. If you can source an animal and you know that it was treated well or whatever, it's as ethical as it could possibly be. I don't necessarily see as much wrong with it. I get it, but as long as you can try to avoid like the really shady shit, then
Yeah.
yeah, because there's some shady stuff out there.
For sure there is.
But then, even with eggs, I mean, the
yeah.
eggs can be a tough one. But luckily, my friend, I have a bunch of friends with hens, so I
Right.
get all my eggs from them,
Yeah.
and they live an amazing life on the
Yeah.
farms. They're just
I feel
off
like,
doing their thing,
especially
all
in
day long.
this area, it's not hard to find,
Yeah.
any kind of
Exactly.
farm fresh beef or chicken or eggs or whatever you
Yeah.
want, right?
If you try, the problem
Yeah.
is you have to try.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always an extra.
Yeah.
Even if you're vegetarian, like especially around here, good luck finding anything to eat, right? Like
Yeah.
or anything that. I mean, you'll find things to eat as salads and whatever else, but anything that's actually like geared towards vegetarians or
Yeah.
vegans,
Right.
good luck.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but
And there's so much more out there now, and it's so much more widely
yeah,
accepted that it's more exciting probably to try
100%.
things. And so when we had this fundraiser social for the animal compassion team through the Humane Society
okay,
in February, we didn't really go hard on marketing it as a vegan social because we
Right.
didn't want people to make any kind of assumptions because some people unfortunately hear the word vegan, it has negative connotations, and that's so not it. So it was more like just a surprise. All the food here is vegan. Yeah. Isn't it delicious? Yeah. So Little Pizza Heaven made all of our pizza. Oh, great. And it was unbelievable. And everyone was just going, this is so tasty. This is so good. Yeah. I can't believe it's vegan. I can't believe this is free. You know, Winnipeg loves free. So it was also a way for people to try things that they weren't prepared to try because they thought, I'm not going to like that.
Well, and I always tell my wife too, because she'll be like, I only got, like, if we have guests over or something, she'll say, I only got the vegan sour cream or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, just don't say it. Yeah, just say it's sour cream.
Here's your sour cream.
They're not going to notice.
Most people won't know any better.
Yeah. And if they do, then too bad. Like, I don't know. It's just,
if you felt that strongly about your sour cream source, then you can bring your own.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known the difference. And if I can't tell, then I'm pretty sure most people can't tell, especially with the basic condiment stuff. I'm like, don't say it. Just bring it out there. And if they find out, and if they don't, I don't know. You're just asking them to judge you at that point, I feel like. Or especially around here, a lot of people are like, vegan. It's like, tastes the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Not always, but often. Yeah.
For sure. There's like, just so much out there.
Cinnaholic in Winnipeg. Shout out to them. So good.
They are very good.
All vegan. You'd never know. They don't market it at all. It's amazing.
Delicious. Yeah, it's the sneaky ones, right? And they're smart because people just aren't always willing to try new things. Exactly. And they just make assumptions about everything. So that was one of the reasons we didn't use the V word with that social.
Well, it's happened too. Like, we've had a plate of wife's grandparents or her grandma would make, I don't know, roast or something, and then they'd have some sausages, and then hers would be beside there. They'd be on the same, like, near each other, and they'd pass it around, and like her family would be like, which ones are the vegan ones? As though like touching it would
it's gonna end your life
them ill or something, or like, I'm not gonna touch that one.
You're gonna turn into a hippie because you touch a tofu dog or something.
Like, it's not gonna kill you.
No.
Well, at least no quicker than anything else will. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
People they have their own proclivities.
People are gross. Yeah, they are.
I think that has to be the title.
I think so.
We've said it enough times.
Yeah, we have.
Jeez. Well, what should we do here? We shut her down, folks? What are we thinking?
We could dial it down.
Yeah. What is there anything else you want to bring up before we do bring it down? We've kind of touched on a lot of things.
We have touched on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a question for myself because I got a vet in the room, so I don't got to pay for this one.
No, you don't.
But
I'm all yours.
So my dog
the bill's in the mail.
hates if I attempt to like brush his teeth and stuff. And like I told you, his breath is hot garbage. And anyone who has dogs, I guess, is listening. What would you recommend to be the best thing to give him to like chew on and gnaw and to help his teeth out, maybe break up some of that tartar bacteria?
Pour some Lysol right in there.
Because I give him antlers. Like, he gets split antlers. He does have those, but he chews it every now and then, but nothing crazy. Okay. So
I get this question all the time, and it's a good one. So first of all, a lot of dogs and cats especially won't like having their teeth brushed, especially if you haven't done it since they were a puppy, which most of us don't think to do. I mean, with my first dog that I ever had, I just didn't even know that you should brush their teeth at all. So I just didn't know. So if they're not into having their teeth brushed, and if he really doesn't like it, I would try putting a little bit of peanut butter on the toothbrush. I know it seems weird and counterproductive, but
that would work for me.
He loves peanut butter.
Well, there we go. So they get used to having that sensation at the same time as the positive reinforcement of the peanut butter, and it's really the mechanical action of the toothbrush on the teeth versus a special toothpaste that makes it more effective. But even then, a lot of dogs and cats won't like that anyways. So one of my favorite things to do is to use some of the dog food that is made as a dental diet, but to use it as a treat. So they don't have to eat that diet all the time, but the way the kibble works is that they're usually bigger pieces of kibble, and they don't crumble on that first bite. They hold their form enough to sweep under the gum line and pull down. So you get that mechanical action of brushing, but it's also a super low calorie food, so it makes for a really good treat for them.
Gotcha.
For dental chews, there's tons of different brands out there. But I always tell people just to make sure that they look at the calorie content of those types of things too, because some can be high in calories, then you get a fat dog
with dental disease.
Yeah,
I heard something recently that most like animals or pets are overweight, and like if you see a little bit of ribs on your dog, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Certain breeds, that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yep.
That's what I hear. But most people are like, oh, he looks too skinny, give him more food.
Oh yeah, all the time. It's
I'm
it's
sure
a
it's like
problem.
an epidemic with your patients.
Completely,
Stuff,
yeah. Pet obesity for sure, for sure. So you don't want to be giving them things that is going to make one problem worse.
Yeah, for sure.
And then antlers and bones, hot topic. So antlers, the good, they're indestructible for the most part. Natural, there's no chemicals there. They usually kind of like to chew on them. The bad, they're more indestructible than your dog's teeth. So depending on how into your dog is to chewing them, they might bust their teeth, and then we have to go surgically remove one of those teeth. So
which is not cheap.
And then, it's not. I'm here to say it's not. I'm here to help you avoid these surgeries.
Because my brother-in-law, they have 3 dogs, or they did. One passed away recently. They have 2 dogs now, but like they all went in at one time to get their teeth done, and it was like $2,000 for the vet bill. It's like $400 for a cleaning or something.
3 anesthesias,
so
3 full cleanings. So we always, that's why we focus on maintenance stuff. So there's also some water additives out there. There's different brands. One that I really love is called Strixin B.
Okay. Well, it sounds terrible.
Doesn't it? But there's
like
no
Cyclone
taste.
B. It's
Actually, they just changed their name. Sorry, I went back in time there. Vetrident. Doesn't that sound better?
Yeah,
there you go. That's
very,
Vetrident.
euphemistic. Right. Yeah, it's good.
Not sponsored by Vetrident.
But we're happy to be.
Yeah, they were made locally at one point. We should
There you
do
go.
that. But that helps prevent some of that initial binding of the plaque to the teeth that turn into that hard tartar. A lot of that hard tartar, and we can look at Finn's teeth on the way out.
Sure, absolutely.
So we'll fact check this after, but a lot of the hard tartar that may be there already won't come off with chewing. But you're aiming to prevent any further accumulation. So once there's a certain amount there, the gums react, and then you have to get them cleaned professionally.
Gotcha.
But there's all kinds of ways to disguise the cleaning between the dental chews, the water additives, the peanut butter on the toothbrush. And for some dogs, if they're not crazy with chewing their bones and antlers, then supervised time. And if it looks like they're going too hard, well, then take it away.
Because he has worked down some antlers before, and they'll go from like this to about half the size. So he does work them down, but it takes him quite a while to do it. But for the most part, they are pretty indestructible.
Yeah, they are. And then as long as he doesn't swallow them, because that's a whole other surgery.
Right, exactly.
Having pets is fun.
It is.
Yeah, we're trying to get one of ours to lose weight, and it's not working very well. He lost 3 pounds, and then he gained them back, so I don't know what he's doing.
Well, we can look into that, too.
Yo-yo dieting.
He's such a fatty. I don't know. But we have special food for him, and it was working briefly, but who knows? I don't know. Whatever.
It's hard with cats. They're one of the toughest, especially when you have 2 cats.
You should hear it though. When he sprints down the stairs, like you roll a bowling ball down there, it's like blah, 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 blah. And he's real solid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, what? So we already plugged your. Did we do your Etsy store? We did. Yeah, we did. What's the website for your blog? Let's get that out there too. Yeah,
it's called tinyvet.com.
There you go. Check it out, folks. Want a little bit. If you want to learn a little bit more about Samyra and her chronicles is what it's saying.
Yeah, chronicles.
So, your adventures, your there and back again, that kind of going around. Definitely check it out. Go to her website. Social media stuff, you can plug that too if you like.
Yeah, Samyra.Jamie on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounds like at the rate you're working, we're going to see you on Nat Geo anytime one of these days soon.
You might.
That's a good name for a show.
You never know.
Tiny Vet Chronicles.
There you go, yeah.
I couldn't believe the domain wasn't taken.
No kidding.
Really?
True, yeah.
Okay, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
It
Here
came
comes a YouTube
free with
series.
my
There
first
you go.
year at
There you go.
Squarespace.
There you go.
Squarespace is big. Come on, sponsor
Yeah.
us, Squarespace.
Yeah,
We'll make
come
our
on,
website too.
Squarespace.
Yeah. They're listening for sure. Someone at Squarespace.
Someone is listening.
Yeah. At least one person's listening to this, I think. I hope.
It'll be Corey for sure.
Yeah.
Just fuming at home. But definitely, so speaking of social media, check us out at Two Idiots Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter, Two Idiots Show.
And by email, doubleidiotspodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions. And
Sure.
if you want guest suggestions, whatever you got, send them to us.
send if your dog has stinky breath too, you can commiserate with Randy. And
Yeah. We'll work at it together.
Yeah.
We'll consult with the expert.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your clinic's name if you want to send people there?
Yeah, Central Veterinary Services. We're on the south perimeter between McGilvery and Brady Road.
You've all driven by it, even if you didn't know it.
There's a big sign. Everyone always goes, "Oh yeah, the one with the red sign."
Exactly.
That is us.
Exactly.
We're not just a barn. We see so many cats and dogs. Please stop by.
Yeah. Everybody in Steinbach has driven by there. South perimeter, everybody's been there. Yeah. So quickly before we go on at the clinic, how do you think it breaks down from like large animals to like pets? Is it even 50-50?
It's about 70-30 small animal to large animal, approximately.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess there's more pets, more whatever. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, unless we have anything else we need to talk about, let's see, what did I have on my list? Touched everything, I think. And if not, we can always have you back.
For sure.
Sounds good. That was fun.
Wonderful.
We're
All right,
always
folks.
open for part 2s with anybody.
Yeah, exactly. We don't kill our guests, folks,
No,
okay?
we promise.
No. I'm
Not
alive
We'll
and
be
well.
alive and well
Yeah.
coming out of this,
You
we
can
promise.
check out my various platforms and
Yeah.
see for yourself.
Yeah.
If the website goes dead, that's not our fault.
Yeah.
No, Squarespace.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, like I said, go get your animal checked out if you like. Get a sketch done. I'll probably post a picture of ours that we got done. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do.
For sure.
And then thank you for listening. Definitely subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars because you love us or because you just want to.
Yeah. Just because you're nice.
Yeah. Help us out. Anyway, thank you for joining us.
Thank
This was
you.
fun.
It's been awesome. Yeah, it's a good chat.
So much fun.
Definitely have to do it again. Everybody watch Balto. All right.
Do it.
All right, see you. Bye.
Bye.